I was trying to put some things in place. Our topic of today will be continuation of our competitive strategies that we did last weekend. It will be a continuation because the syllabus require some extended areas of that topic that we looked at last weekend. Some of the extended areas are the greenhouse growth model that we are going to look at shortly. So we are going to discuss comprehensively on the greenhouse growth model and the model diagram. The uses of greenhouse growth model will be discussed. Apart from the greenhouse growth model uses, we have some scholars that they read and reviewed the model that we call greenhouse growth model, and they're able to come up with one or two observations, the areas of improvements about the model. That's why the significance, importance, and contribution of the model to knowledge about strategic management, accounting, financial analysis, and the life cycle of an organization. So greenhouse growth model 1. 2, the extended area of the syllabus is M&A 2. The syllabus requires you have at least knowledge about M&A, that you might be tested on this in the exam, that is merger and acquisition. And if you can recall that in the Eagle Answer growth model aspect of the syllabus that we discussed, diversification was extensively discussed about. And I told you that we have basically 2 or 3 types of diversification. We have concentric diversification, we have conglomerate diversification, and we have hybrid diversification. So in the extended aspect of this competitive advantage that we are doing this afternoon too, we are still going to come across some aspects of the diversification and integration that ICANN said we should discuss about. Then having looked at that, then we talk about the 2 types of the forecasting techniques that we have. That is the qualitative forecasting and the quantitative forecasting. And again, part of the syllabus said we should look at the assessment of the business strategy. Of all the business strategy that companies are using, maybe you are using growth strategy, consolidation strategy, withdrawal strategy, turnaround strategy, BCG strategy, any of the strategy that you are using, including the strategic clock analysis by Bowman. So the syllabus said, which is very important too, there should be assessment of the business strategy. The essence of that assessment is for us to know the suitability of the strategy, the acceptability, feasibility in time of financial risks, and many more. So after that, then we look at business ethics and then CSR. So with that, we'll be through for our lecture today. So I can be able to have another online class that you have, and I too, I still have another physical class this afternoon. Okay, so let's start our lecture. The first thing that we are starting with is greenhouse growth model. Greenhouse growth model. So the greenhouse growth model is a model that is popularly used to explain the sequential stages of a company's life and associated crises or challenges. I'll say that again in a simplified form. That the greenhouse growth model, this model is used to identify and explain the logical stages of corporate entity life and the likely crisis the company might face during the growing phase of life. What does that mean? We have in relation to product, we have what we call product life cycle. The product life cycle discuss comprehensively on the sequential stages that a new product will pass through in the market, starting from the time the product is born, live, and possibly die in the market. And when you look at the product life cycle, we have 5 stages of product life cycle. But ICANN syllabus limited you to 4, which is the introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. So the saturation stage was omitted. So that product life cycle discusses about the life cycle of the products. That is where I'm going. But this greener growth model now discuss about the life cycle of a company. That tells you that all the companies that you are seeing that are duly registered with the CAC and become a legal and artificial being, they have stages that they pass through. It depends. Some scholars, you will see it, they will inform you that in the greenhouse growth model, we have 5 stages, which is the most common. All the literature that you read, both local and foreign texts, you will see it 5 stages. While some scholars extend it to 6 stages. So greenhouse growth model simply discuss on the stages of a company lifespan. Any corporate entity that is duly registered, still operating, it has not liquidated, there are 5 or 6 stages that company will pass through. So the greenhouse growth model informs us that all companies pass through 5 or 6 logical stages. So these stages are used to explain this model. The stages inform us that as the company grows in size and age, there are radical changes in their corporate organization structure, radical changes in their reporting system, there are radical changes in their communication networking, coordination, and control. So those are the things that the greenhouse growth model discuss and explain. That increasing size and age of the company bring about spontaneous and dynamic changes in the company mode of operation, in the company reporting system, mode of delegation, coordination and control, and various business expansion processes. As you can see in the model diagram, the greenhouse growth model diagram that you are seeing here illustrates 6 stages. But if you limit yourself to 5, nobody will penalize you. You can use 5 in exam, which is the most common, and I too am in support of that 5 stages. Because this stage 6 that you are seeing, phase 6, is more or less an extension, maybe probably in the process of practical application of the model, the experience of some companies, business enterprise, multinational companies, or conglomerate company, including small and medium scale enterprises, they might feel that is need for this extension into phase 6. So we have 5 or 6 stages in the greenhouse growth model, as you can see. In your x-axis, we have the company size, while in our y-axis, we have the age of the company. The first phase of the greenhouse growth model is a phase that we call phase of creativity. Phase of creativity. It is called phase of creativity because it is the first stage of the company's life. It is the stage at which the company achieves further growth through creativity, innovation, advancement in technology. There are just few companies that have the resources at that time to attract expatriates. So at this phase, you will discover that majority of the companies are struggling to expand their staff strengths, or because they have limited resources. So we are going to discuss on phase one. In phase two, we are going to discuss on that too. The phase two is characterized by further increase in size and age of the company. This one will usher the company to have an advancement in growth and business development. So in the phase two, the company achieved further growth through direction. That means the company is more formalized. That's a form of decentralization in some policy. While in the phase three, then we have growth being achieved through what we call delegation. That is delegation. In phase four, the company expands further. They are able to achieve more of their restated vision and mission statements and strategic goals. So as the company is increasing, they achieve further development through what we call coordination, effective coordination. And that's the more reason why that phase is characterized as a phase that the company achieved growth through coordination. In phase five, there's an advancement and further growth through what we call collaboration. And the same phase five and phase six that I've told you, they have a lot of things in common, more or less the same thing. But in the model that we are seeing, we say in phase six, the company achieved growth through what we call alliance. So when you go underneath all these various logical phases that are interrelated, that I've just mentioned now, you will see a contour line. That line is not straight. The essence of having that line, or having it in that form, is simply to tell you that the organization growth in all these phases from one stage to another is not something that is a smooth exercise. There is a lot of myriad of challenges, a lot of crises that the company is facing. And some of these challenges that we are facing are put it underneath of each of the phases. In phase one, the company crisis of leadership. In phase two, the company will experience the crisis of autonomy. Crisis of autonomy. In phase four, the company will experience crisis of red taping. So red tape means bureaucracy, protocol, and what have you. In phase five, the company experienced the same crisis of litigation, red tapeism, bureaucracy, alliance problem. So the crisis they experience in phase five and phase six are more or less the same thing. So I use that one to explain the model diagram that you have in this our lecture material of today. So now, let's now look at all these phases one by one. All these phases one by one. So I there, Biodun, Amishi, my learning colleagues, Eve, Fabio. Can I continue, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the phase one now. Phase one. The phase one is called the phase of growth through creativity. This thing is very simple. I will use this opportunity of breakdown of the diagram now to tell you what and what you need. You see this phase one? The phase one is the first phase. If you don't call it phase, you can say it is the first stage or first process. It is the first stage of the company's life. It is the stage at which the company is newly formed. When we start a company newly, we register the company with CAC. Do you get it? We have already know our target customers. We born a new product. That means we produce a new product and send it to the market. The stage at which we start a company newly is what we call phase one. Once you know that, you have known all other things. Because it is from this phase one, if God answer the companies, you and I that we have business, that the company business is growing, we move to growth 2, phase 3, phase 4. So the phase 1 is the first phase of the company's life. It is the phase at which the company is newly established and registered. So at this phase, the company is still new in the business and the industry where they are operating. So because it is a newly established business, they have relatively smaller number of customers. We have smaller number of employees. And I mentioned earlier to you that the number of staff that we have, the staff are small. The staff are small. Those are the basic features of the phase 1. Added to that, the company is using what we call a flat organization structure. Flat organization structure. If we don't call it flat organization structure, we call it a flat organization structure. The flat organization structure means that the company is using entrepreneurial structure. Please take note of that. Anytime a new company is formed, particularly a small company or emerging company that is just growing smallly, that is growing gradually, all the major decisions in that company will revolve around the owner of the business. And it is a partnership business that they have 2, 3, 4 people. It is there 3, 4, 5 people that will be taking all major decisions as compared to the decision that regards to what to do, how to do it, who is to do it, when is to do it, from whom, who are we doing it for? Is it an household, the customers, the distributors, or the public or governments? So that is the meaning of flat organizational structure or entrepreneurial structure. In entrepreneurial structure, all major resources, allocation, usage, strategic decision, and policy is being taken by the owner of the business. And that is these are the things that is characterized with phase 1. So due to that, there may be a sort of rigid or slow decision making, where it is the owner of the business that will decide. So when you look at that phase 1, in any phase 1, I use green pencil for you to emphasize certain things there. What I use that green pencil for is that in phase 1, the company face crisis of leadership. Hold it, please. Anytime you talk about the phases of Greenhouse Growth Model, you must tell the examiner the crisis that we face. Provided I can ask you to discuss comprehensively or succinctly on everything that you know about Greenhouse Growth Model. But if ICANN did not do that, we are used to them. They can give us a short case scenario, tell us the name of the company, that the company just newly started, this and that. If it is a one-man business or partnership business, they will inform us. The line of business of the company, the industry where they are operating, probably the degree of competition, their number of staffs. All this information will be given to us. Do you get it? And despite the fact that the company, we are able to employ few learned, skilled staff and expatriates. All major decisions in the company is being taken by the owner or the director of the company. And this one will bring about crisis of leadership. Because at times, you and I, as a staff, we might have some superior ideas, contributions that we want to make. You rather allow that your superior advice to remain permanently in you. You stomach it. But it is the owner that takes all major decisions. If the owner is not around, so far any decisions or authority is not given to you, you cannot take any decision. For short decision, you are not empowered to do so. It is not delegated to you. So that's the meaning of crisis of leadership. The complexity of decision taking, rigidity in decision taking, slow business activities down. In phase two, the company experienced further increase in size and age. And as a result, their business performance too improved. Our number of customers increases. This might be attributed to aggressive promotion and marketing that the company did. It might be attributed to probably customers' referral about the quality of our products, their post-purchase experience, which is satisfactory or favorable, that we call in marketing consonants. Because anytime the customers experience dissonance, dissatisfaction, or overlap, cognitive overlap, regret of ever buying our products, they will not make any referral. They will not do any repeat purchase. So the company that moved to phase two, they are fortunate that their business increase and expands, all because we are having more customers that are coming. The more they buy, as our sales volume increase, our revenue increase, we achieve positive return on investments and many more. So since the business is growing, then we are able to increase our staff strength, employ more staff. Is that taken? Then at the same time, there will be more direction. The direction that you are seeing there, that growth route direction, means that the company become more formalized. Before, we just have one staff or two that is reporting directly to the owner. So there is no formalized business, no departmentalization, no units. But now we can now say, okay, from Ensor, Tinuke, please, anytime customers comes in, they come to your desk. So you be the customer's frontline manager. We have another ND holder that now I can be a finance manager or probably a BSc holder, but there will be limits to what they can do. They might not be allowed to hold cash. They might not be allowed to have access to finance and some other things. So there is a limited decision they can take. So, but what we have to say here and emphasize is that the company become more well organized. They become more standardized. They increase in size and age, employ more skilled staff. But all major decisions still remain with the owner of the business. And that's one reason why in phase two of the Guinness Growth Model, we always have what we call crisis of autonomy. But even if we are a BSc holder, you have BSc, MSc, MBA, PhD, ACCA, ACA, FCA, you still discover that you are not empowered. You lack that decision taking. Some of your responsibility might not be matched with authority. So that's why we call it crisis of autonomy. Okay, let's quickly move to phase three. That is the phase three is called the phase of growth through delegation. You can see the beauty of the Guinness Growth Model now. I can see the reason why I'm saying you that all these stages are interwoven, intertwined. They are interrelated. They are like siamese twins. As the company move, one thing we push them to next level. And the next level and the preceding level, they have something in common. So the growth through delegation, the company now delegates tasks, responsibilities. They become more formalized. We now have finance department, marketing department, sales department. Possibly we have a middle line manager, maybe sales manager or sales associates. We have loss control manager. Is that taken? So with this now, we have stores department, all these things that we don't have before. We'll be able to establish what we call SBUs. You can jot that down, SBUs. That is strategic business units. So with our strategic business units, we have a well-formalized business structure. We have different divisions and departmentalization in phase three. So that will make it easier for the company to be able to delegate responsibility. And when they delegate responsibility, they ensure that all the staffs carry out all these assigned tasks and do it as expected. All areas that we have gray areas, all those gray areas where we have inability of the staff to do it accurately, that will be the function of the functional managers to do necessary corrections. And that's the reason why some managers, they find it extremely difficult to delegate responsibility. They see it as, one, duplication of efforts, particularly all these autocratic leaders, managers. They feel if you delegate it, you will not do it to their expectations, forgetting that the more they delegate, the more confidence the staff have, and the more experience they have. So some, because of the sensitivity of their office, they find it difficult to delegate some responsibility. But dedication is key for any organization that wants to achieve what we call sustainable growth and improve performance. Any company that wants to contribute immensely to career growth of their staff, they must ensure they delegate responsibility. Any company that wants to be a market leader, have improved competitive advantage, and achieve internal synergy, responsibility is key. You have to take note of this, because all these things that we are saying is beyond the exam. We must retain all this knowledge for our own personal business to make valuable contribution to the companies where we are working, for us to be more relevant. So in stage 3, due to this formalized and delegation of responsibility and authority, the company have crisis of control. Crisis of control. The reason being that all delegated tasks and responsibility, we must ensure that it's accountability. We must ensure that all these tasks are done in accordance with the policy of the company. We must ensure that we coordinate and put in place effective control measure. That control measure will give us opportunity to know areas of deviation, and to help us to put in place a corrective or preventive measures in areas where the least perform. The next one is phase 4, which is a phase of appreciable increase in the age and size of the company. Any phase that we are talking about, starting from 1, 2, 3, as the company is moving to that phase, the company is increasing in age, and at the same time, the company is increasing in size. You must know that their age is increasing in every phase, their size is increasing, and their business is expanding. So in phase 4, the company becomes more formalized and standardized. There is an improvement in internal coordination. All the delegation that we are giving to staff that we find it difficult, now the delegation is well managed through effective coordination of both human and material resources. In this phase 4, the greater growth model made us to understand that the company now becomes so enlarged that they now have regional offices. They have regional offices in the north, regional offices in the south. We have south. Even some companies, they go into international arena. They are able to move. They become a born global firm. Within 3-4 years that they start their business, they are able to move to international business. It might be Ghana here. When you produce locally in Nigeria, you export the product to Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, whatever, Asia. It's an international business. Even Cameroon is international. So we are now having more expansion, regional sales athletes and many more. So, and all these expansion that we have, we must coordinate activities of all the companies to ensure that we achieve a common goals and objective of the company. So that tells you that as the company is growing in size, there was need for effective coordination and networking. Because we have to network, just like all these banks that we have, both onshore and offshore. When we talk of, okay, Cardinal branch, Sokoto branch, so everything that is going on there, it is the responsibility of the director of the companies to ensure that all activities there are captured and we achieve results. So in phase 4, because of that complex tasks of coordination, control, managing different divisions and the rest, there's always problem of what we call red tape and bureaucracy. If we call it red tape or red tapeism, is the same thing as bureaucracy. That means there's a lot of protocol, a lot of policy, a lot of networking job to be done, a lot of legal advice. So many management functions needed to be performed here. So once that one is understood, I say glory to God for that. It's God that is in it. It's not we as a Christian. It is your support and encouragement that is giving us that spirit and ability to deliver. And I pray that God will crown your effort with success. So we move to phase 5. In phase 5, the company increased further in age and size. But this phase is characterized by growth through cooperation. But in some places, you can see it, they will call it that the phase is characterized by phase through collaboration. Please, help me to note that, please. That phase 5 is called the phase of growth through collaboration or cooperation. But I don't like a situation whereby you get to exam, you see phase of collaboration. Phase 5 is called phase of cooperation and collaboration. And when you look at the simple meaning of cooperation and collaboration, it requires 2 more companies coming together to do business. And that business should be a cooperative, mutually benefiting business. So in the phase 5, for the company to achieve further growth, they have to ensure internal cooperation with all their staff, motivation of their staff, investment in innovation. They have to ensure that the company invests heavily in their human capital resources. The human capital resources are the staff. There must be investment in the area of training, manpower development, career advancement. But above all, the reason why we call this phase 5 a phase of collaboration is that there might be area of deficiency, relatively weakness, or it might even be an area of strength that the company wants to improve on, but they cannot do it on their own. Then you have to collaborate with a company that have the knowledge, expertise, competency that can give the company support. The company might want to go into merger or acquisition. The company now, they might want to do what we call diversification of their investments. They have to collaborate. Just like this scenario of Dangote now. You can see the area Dangote moved to, which is the refinery business, is a conglomerate diversification, different line of business that it doesn't have idea about. Only God knows the number of collaboration, consultations that he might have done to achieve the success of that business. So in that collaboration phase that we have now, we might have limit of control. Since some other companies are coming to join us, or we go into consultancy, they too will have some decision to take that we have to digest. External people might be involved. Government might come. Another new investors might join us. Those are the things that we are talking about in phase 5 and phase 6. So as a result of that, there is always limited control. But the most important thing that we have to know is that the phase 5 is a phase that faces a crisis of bureaucracy, a lot of protocols, a lot of legal arrangements, so many consultations, disagreements, delay in decision making, strategic formulation, and many more. But note, any alliance that you are going to, any collaboration, that alliance must accept the company vision and mission statement. You must not go into any alliance that will make you lose your focus or identity. Please note, any alliance that you are going to, it must not be the one that you are going to be at the disadvantage. It must be a win-win situation. So the phase 6 is a phase that we call the growth through alliance. And that's what we are stressing. And that's the reason why I told you from the onset that you need not be scared at all, please. Anywhere you see the Greenhouse growth model and the diagram and the explanation is limited to 5, fantastic. I too am in support of that. Because we discover that those people having extension into 6, they are repeating what we have in phase 5. So the same thing that we have said in phase 5 is what we are saying in phase 6 too. But I intentionally put this because when some people are reading, it will not cause confusion. That they call me as, sir, but that Greenhouse growth model, I saw phase 6, but you taught us phase 5. Even in ICANN, some of the past exams that they have set is phase 5. But in case they now see another person that said the question pushes to them, bring phase 6, whatever, it say the same thing. So your explanation in phase 5 is the same thing as our explanation in phase 6. So let's quickly go to uses of Greenhouse growth model. We mention 1 or 2 things about the uses of the growth model. You can just scroll down. Uses of Greenhouse growth model. Based on this explanation that I've given you, if they should ask you, what are the uses of Greenhouse growth model? You can close your eyes and start writing 5, 6 points about the uses of Greenhouse growth model. You are not expected or advised to cram. By the time you read these uses that I gave you, you can transform them, increase the length of the uses based on your understanding of this particular model or topic. So the uses are many. If you read it, if you have understood, based on the little explanation I've given you, then you can write your uses on your own. So what are the uses of the Greenhouse growth model? The uses of the Greenhouse growth model is that it gives company opportunity to identify improvements in their business performance. 2, it allows company to do analysis of their achievements, goals, and the number of years they have been in business. Because when you look at the 2 parameters that this scholar use, he used age and size. As the company is increasing in age and their size is increasing, what happened? There is delegation. What happened? There is coordination. What happened? There is collaboration. And all the challenges they are having in these stages, that is another uses of Greenhouse growth model. Because the uses of the Greenhouse growth model inform us that there is no perfect organization. There is no perfect business environment. Companies are bound to experience pains. That pains that man mentioned is what we call crisis. The crisis can come from the government, it can come from the economic situation, it can come from the customers, it can come from the investors. Crisis. Look at a good example, DSTV. Not quite long that people drive them to court, all because they increase their price. And they are telling the government that we are not even enjoying this service. We've told this company to do what we call pay as you go. At the same time, how many times will this company increase their price? They have increased price more than 3 or 4 times this year. Only God knows the amount of money they have spent now for this legal tussle. They have been penalized. They are asked to pay certain amount of money. Court even said that they give the injunction they should not increase the price. They still pronounce it. That is another capital punishment and financial losses to them. This is exactly what we are talking about. Crises are bound to occur. But some companies might be fortunate that it is not at all stages that they experience crisis. But that notwithstanding, they can't tell us that their company is growing without experiencing crisis. Even Nigeria as a nation now, we are experiencing a lot of crises as Nigeria is growing. So the Greenhouse Growth Model help organizations to make strategic decisions, review their policy, and it even give them opportunity to go into benefiting collaboration or cooperation with other companies. So these are some of the uses of our Greenhouse Growth Model. So how can we use Greenhouse Growth Model? How can we use Greenhouse Growth Model? I decided to put this because it is very essential that what are the things we are going to do in all these phases. One, the first step of uses of Greenhouse Growth Model is to determine which stage or phase of the model are we currently. Is our company in stage 1 or phase 1? If we are in stage 1 or phase 1, we have known the peculiarity of these stages. How can we manage it? Step 2, determine if we are close to crisis points at that phase. The crisis points at that phase. You know, in phase 1, we have crisis of leadership. Are we having any leadership problem? Are our employees complaining of with the autocratic style of the management, who is the owner of the business? Or are we experiencing any delay in decision making when the MD or the owner of the business is not around, that is having any adverse effect on our business? We have to know when we start having crisis, so to give us opportunity for effective control and maneuvering of that crisis that we're having. In phase 3, we have to determine what we need to do to overcome the crisis and achieve further improvements or further business expansion. In phase 4, constant monitoring is needed, environmental analysis is needed, and we have to envisage changes. And that's the reason why I told you that in strategy or in the organization life, there is need for room for flexibility to accommodate changes. So in phase 5, we have to review all these our phases, maybe quarterly, yearly, or as assigned by the management. And some, they do it at the middle of the year, probably June. They review their growth, they review their business activities. They don't wait till when they are doing AGM, or they don't wait till the time they have crisis. So all these constant review of the business growth, size, performance, policy, and leadership help a lot to achieve results. So next we have the criticism of Greenhouse Growth Model. So what are the criticism, area of improvement, observation of people about the Greenhouse Growth Model? One, some say it is too simplistic. I don't know why we say this thing is simple. Because for a scholar to have sat down, only God knows the number of years it takes to come about this beautiful model. So they said the model is simple. Some say that it is not every business that experiences crisis as it grows. Well, I say I agree with that partially. But along the line, no matter what, the company will experience crisis as it goes. Or may I ask you, is it possible That's second criticism of linear growth model. That's emphasized that not every business will suffer crisis as it grows. Do you agree with that? Biodun Amechi, Amon, Gloria, Precious, Sheyi, Tayo, Oyetunde, Tongret, and Victoria. Do you agree with that assertion?
Yes.
That not every business will suffer crisis as its goal. Hello?
No, I don't agree.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. I don't agree too.
Okay, you don't agree with it. Okay. Is there any other contradictory view to that? Because I too personally, I don't agree. Because if you don't experience crisis in your phase 1, in your second year, which is phase 2 or stage 2, you don't experience crisis. Phase 3, you don't experience crisis. It's not possible. Yes. Even look at it. All the companies that we have that have grown, can we tell you that they are not experiencing crisis now? Neither is not possible. Because now, companies are experiencing crisis. It might be crisis of the government, maybe increase in value tax. It might be increase in interest rates. Look at the foreign exchange. This one is creating crisis for the company. It's bringing about persistent increase every second on their raw materials, be it the one they are producing here or they are importing. Do you get this? So crisis will come from the customers. You might be experiencing sluggish sales. Some companies might be experiencing high staff turnover, that some of their staff is being attracted somewhere. That was the question that Biodun asked, Mr. Biodun asked over the weekend. So crisis will come. It might be crisis from the shareholders too. So all companies have crisis, but that is their own, or the environment, God bless you. Or the environment, it might be there. So, and they are saying that the company do not take another criticism is that the company did not take account of the pace of growth. It will be difficult to know the pace of growth, but we just know that the company will transmove from phase 1 to phase 2. The number of time it will take them, maybe 6 months, 4 months, a year, 2 or 3. We never can say. They get it. Okay, so I will look at that. Let's quickly look at M&A because of our time. M&A, this thing that we have an idea about. Okay. So M&A, we live with it, we part of it, even right from our elementary school, where we are doing commerce, marketing, and some other things. Undergraduates, we have M&A. The M&A implies the merger and acquisition. On a quick one, anytime we talk about merger involves the coming together of at least two entities. That entities mean that two parties, two companies. That's the meaning of that two entities. So when two companies or two parties come together with a mind of doing business, maybe commercial business, which is the most common, and sharing the profits among themselves, maybe based on their equity share, based on the number of expatriates they put in, based on the facilities they have, based on the structure. Anything can be used to negotiate when we come to merger and acquisition. But what is the most important is that no companies have domineering or total control of ownership of the business. No. The two companies come together, they will do business together. And I put one simple example there. The merger, the coming together of Access Bank and Diamond Bank. But when Diamond Bank ran into a problem, some few years back now, it's less than 5 years. They have so many crises. They have a lot of matured loan that was not paid. A lot of people defaulted. So as a result of that, it affects the liquidity position. The company becomes illiquid. So when they become illiquid, they have financial crisis. They are unable to pay their staff. So CBN asked for recapitalization, which majority of the owners of the bank said they don't have the resources to do it. Maybe by fear of EFCC or what have you, I don't know. So what happened is that for this bank not to be totally collapsed and become a distressed bank, that will lead to loss of investments, and can even lead to the death of a lot of investors and customers. So many staff that Diamond Bank have, there are more than 10,000 staff, probably within and outside the country, they will lose their job. So the CBN have to come in get a certain amount of money, the same way they have done for Polaris, and be looking for a favorable buyer, suitor. In the course of looking for that, all their toxic assets were sold, but eventually, to cut it short, they are able to have opportunity for Access Bank, which is ready to merge with Diamond Bank. They have done this because they have discovered that it is profitable. And Diamond Bank already have a lot of customers, a lot of branches, a lot of structures, and many more. So that's a good example. But when it's come to acquisition, I think it is acquisition now, then Access Bank will purchase Diamond Bank totally. So they will not be the sole owner of all their structures, the staff, and everything. So in acquisition, one bank or one company acquire another and take majority of the equity share. So what are the advantages of acquisition and merger? What advantage do we have there? It will give company opportunity to achieve further growth and expansion. 2, it will give you opportunity to become the ownership of a new product, new brand, gain new customers, achieve internal development. And another advantage is that it will increase the company line of business, return on investment, and profitability. So there are so many advantages that we have there. So what are the likely disadvantages that we have? The likely disadvantage is that it is not cost-free. Most of these acquisition and merger, when you look at the figure, they are talking in terms of millions or billions of naira, particularly for acquisition. This is relatively expensive. And second thing is that a lot of legal work has to be done, because you have to look at the legal implications of all these things that you are doing. There is no ignorance in court. No ignorance in court. So we have to ensure all the legal provisions, the ethical stand, the government policy, the CBN directives in terms of this merger and acquisition, everything are being observed. I must ensure that if it's acquisition or merger, both parties agree. Because so far you are not under duress or undue influence, you don't have any thing that you can tender in the court. So we have to ensure that we look at all the legal implications. And it's time consuming. Remember to put time. It takes a lot of time. Risk is there. It is risky. Some acquisition work faster, it give you result. Some at the end of the day, you might not achieve our aims. So the risk aspect of it too has to be considered. And that's the reason why the company has to look at their risk appetite. Don't go beyond the risk that the company can bear. So when you go underneath, under the disadvantages, you will see where I put there's a class of auction. It is either we have clash of auction. That is when we are talking of merger. Like that example, Diamond Bank have their own culture and philosophy. Access Bank have their own culture and philosophy. For us to achieve a fit understanding of this culture, respect the fiction and mission of each other, you have to look at that class of culture. And at times, it might lead to loss of culture, philosophy, and the goodwill. That one, you should know that when that one occurs, then we are talking of acquisition, outright purchase. Once they buy the company, then they have lost their culture. They have lost their philosophy. All their brand way, goodwill, equity is no longer there because they have bought the company over. So then we talk of diversification and integration that I mentioned, because I've highlighted some of the short things that the syllabus require under this thing. So we don't want to overlook anything. Let's just ensure that everything that the syllabus pinpoint or mention, no matter how small it is, just have to discuss on it. Diversification and integration. We have discussed about diversification before, but this aspect that you are saying, diversification and integration, is that at times the form of diversification that the company do might be horizontal, vertical, forward, and backward. So diversification, I've told you, occur when company diversify, they move into new line of business. This new line of business that the company invested in can be related or unrelated. That brings a lot of risks and uncertainty. And I've informed you that anytime we are talking of diversification, there are two types of diversification. We have concentric diversification that we equally call related diversification. The second one is conglomerate diversification that we call unrelated diversification. And I inform you, if a company now combine the two, they diversify into related line of business, just like Dangote flour diversifying into bakery business is a concentric related line. But Dangote flour or Dangote group diversifying into refinery business is a conglomerate diversification. It's not related to everything that they have been doing. That one is expensive, it is highly risky, and does not permit the use of existing facilities. So we have used that one to brush our knowledge about diversification. So that integration that we are now talking about, integration is a term that means business expansion, achieving business expansion through a form of diversification or alliance or strategy. That is the meaning of integration. And in the integration, we have two types of integration. We have one, horizontal integration. Horizontal integration. In the horizontal integration, that one occur when company acquire maybe a unit or product line, or they acquire one of their major competitors. That is what we call horizontal integration. But I don't want to waste your time here. Once you know the meaning, it should be easier for you. In the horizontal integration, the company acquire one of their competitors' products, or the company acquire the entire company that has previously become their major rival. I give you one example there that quickly occurred to me when I was building this material. I said, e.g., Coca-Cola acquire Limca Bottling Company. Before, what Coca-Cola did there was that they used one strategy that we call buy-in strategy. They invest substantial amount of money to become one of the major shareholders in Coca-Cola Bottling Company. And this company that you are seeing, Coke has given them a lot of problem in the past. There was a time they will buy their bottle in large quantity. They will go and break it. For that company to experience losses so that they will not be able to produce that product. But that product is a major competitor of Schweppes. But now, with intense competition, now that Limca product has become a dog product, now that the sale of Limca itself has reached a decline stage, and Coca-Cola is even looking for a way out to fight Tim, which is a competing product produced by 7-Up Bottling Company. We all knew that the Coca-Cola Schweppes have lost its glory. One of those days that the product is doing very well, everybody will be looking for a Schweppes. How many people is buying Schweppes now? So the company now acquire that product, that company, Limca Bottling Company, and they write it there boldly that Limca now, the official sponsor, producer of this product is Coca-Cola Company. But they are doing that because they want to use a combination of Limca and Schweppes to fight Tim in the market. So what we need here is that Tim is not a product of Coca-Cola, but Coke are able to buy this thing. Once they buy it, then it has become horizontal integration. That's the meaning of horizontal integration. But when it's come to vertical integration, the company is merging. They are integrating, collaborating with another company at different stage of production or supply chain. A good example, we can use this same example that Coca-Cola is not buying Limca Bottling Company outrightly. But what they do is that they assist them in the chemical formulation of their products, or after mixing their Limca to the taste the company wants, it is Coca-Cola that is doing the bottle for them, packaging. That's what we call vertical integration. They play a major role in the integration process at every stage of the supply chain. Another thing that is relevant in integration is what we call forward and backward integration. Please don't mistake this one to the Porter's generic strategy that we did. You know, in a Porter's generic strategy, I inform you that we have cost leadership strategy, differentiation strategy, and differentiation focus strategy. And under the Porter's generic strategy that we call cost leadership strategy, Michael Porter has informed us that any company that wants to use that one, you must be able to do what we call backward and forward integration. But now that we are now looking at backward and forward integration now, let your mind be here and learn something new. Those are saying that, okay, maybe we have thought of that in Porter's generic already. Yes, fine. So what is forward vertical integration? The forward vertical integration is also called downstream integration. And that's the essence of using this pen for you. There's some key things that once you say it, you know that, okay, for me to pencil this, I want you to take note of it, that is important. So another name for forward vertical integration is downstream integration. Why do we call it forward vertical integration? We call it forward vertical integration because the company take over or invest in the line of business of their customers. Let's take it again. Forward vertical integration is also called downstream integration that occur when the company invests in the product of its customers or take over the business of their customers. That is what we call a forward vertical integration. Like for example now, you see in Ojota there, Ojota is a popular market for chemicals. In fact, in the whole of Lagos, it is a major market for the sale of chemical. You have a lot of investors, dealers, and what have you there. Once they invest, import chemicals and what have you, acid and the rest, they sell to their customers. When customers buy all these chemicals, they use it to produce Dettol, liquid soap, Izal, hand sanitizer. So many things can be done with all these chemicals. So what the companies do majorly is that they sell all these chemicals to them and they buy packaging from customers. But of recent, I noticed that some companies are selling these chemicals too. All this packaging they are buying from majority of their customers, vendors, they too now they are producing it, or they too they buy directly from the market, or they import all the packaging. That's a good example of forward vertical integration. Another good example is that before they will sell the chemicals to all their respective customers, they are going to use it to produce whatever byproduct they want to produce and sell to their customers. But now, some companies that sell these chemicals too, they are now producing all this Izal, liquid soap in large quantity. They produce hand sanitizer. Then automatically, they are doing forward vertical integration because gradually they are taking over the business of their customers. On the other hand, we have backward vertical integration that we call upstream integration. Backward vertical integration is also called upstream integration. This one occurs when the company invests in the businesses of their major suppliers or vendors. Businesses of their major suppliers or vendors. So when that one occurs, we say we are talking about what we call backward vertical integration. Most of the things that the suppliers are supplying us, now we are now producing it, or we abandon them, we are importing it directly, or we buy machines that can produce that thing for us. That is backward vertical integration. It helps us to save a lot of costs and to bring about another alternative money for the company. So next we have forecasting. In time memorial, I kind of not really set questions on forecasting like that. But there are so many ways we can set it. We can set it on the sales forecasting. They can mention it in one of our questions. And at the end of the day, question can come on it, or they can digress to look at other areas of the question. But the most important thing that we have to note here is that forecasting is very, very essential for any organization that want to remain in business, for any organization that want to grow, for any company that want to achieve their pre-stated objective and want to remain competitive, then you have to forecast, both for short time and long time. Because forecasting is a management planning tools that will give us opportunity for us to foresee what quantity of product can we sell. It will give us opportunity for us to foresee how we can achieve spontaneous growth, increase in size and age. Forecasting even aids this diversification that we have talked about. You must know that we have two types of forecasting techniques. That is where we are going. Two types. and which is not new to us. We have quantitative forecasting techniques, and we have qualitative forecasting techniques. Quantitative. That one that we said quantitative is a forecasting technique that embrace the use of statistical method or mathematical method. Do you get this? Numeric figures are involved. That's the reason why we call it quantitative method, quantitative. So it involves the use of, you will see it there, I've listed them. Something like trend analysis. Some companies, individuals use average moving techniques. All these mean median modes can be used by some company. Time series analysis can be used. Exponential growth can be used. So what we are after is that the quantitative forecasting method is a forecasting technique that involve the use of mathematics and statistical techniques. We are using this one for us to have an assumption of probably the likely quantity of the product that we can sell, assumption of the likely sales return or profit that we can realize between now and the next 3 months. So apart from this trend analysis, we can use chi-square analysis. So many things can be used for our forecasting techniques. It's not limited to all these statistical methods that I mentioned. Well, when you scroll down, please you can help me to do that. You will see one area where I put Delphi techniques. Delphi techniques. That Delphi techniques is not part of the quantitative forecasting techniques, please. The quantitative forecasting method is a forecasting technique that embraces the use of quantitative modeling, statistical method, mathematical method. But when it comes to Delphi method, the Delphi technique is a qualitative forecasting method. That is where I'm going. And that's the reason why I said you should look at that area. Maybe I will have title is qualitative techniques. Qualitative techniques. You can help me to do that because me, I'm typing here as I'm talking to you. Maybe example of qualitative techniques. Example of qualitative techniques. One typical example of qualitative techniques is Delphi method. That is Delphi techniques. This Delphi techniques does not require calculation. It does not require use of all these statistical models, SPSS, this and that, whatever that we use. No. The Delphi method refers to seeking for expert opinions within and outside the company. We limit ourselves to within the company, and we want to estimate the total quantity of the product that we can sell. What should come to our mind, Gloria, is that since it is qualitative and we want to forecast the total quantity of product that we can sell, so without wasting time, we can ask the production manager to make contribution or input. Sales manager is there. Our marketing manager is there. Our sales representative that is going to the field, they are there. In fact, we can liaise with our distributors. Except in extreme cases, that some companies will contract this out to see for consultants to make estimates of the likely product that you can sell or one of the major investors. So in the qualitative techniques, we don't need calculation. We rely solely on expert opinion, contribution from the managers, sales representative, distributors, wholesalers, and many more. That's the two difference. That's the major difference between quantitative and qualitative sales forecasting. So having looked at that, we have the assessment of business strategy. This one is essential. I've told you from the onset that the assessment of business strategy, they are telling you that any business that you want to do, your own personal business, or you're in a meeting now, they're telling you that, okay, Mr. Abiodun, what do you see to this, our strategy that we want to implement by next month or thereafter, because we are thinking of doing this, doing that, whatever. You should be able to make contribution that, sir, can I come in? That how suitable is this strategy to the company policy, vision and mission statement? You can be able to tell them that, okay, this strategy, have you considered the resources at the disposal of our company? You can say this strategy, has it been ratified, accepted by the shareholders or the stakeholders? Is there any policy statement on this? Do you get it? And is the strategy in line with the company culture philosophy? Is it in line with the company vision and mission statement? That is what we call assessment of business strategy. In the assessment of the business strategy, the various ways through which individual businessmen assess their business strategy are the following. The assessment of the business strategy can be done by looking at, one, the suitability of the strategy. Suitability. Is it suitable? Does it meet the basic requirements, expectations of the owner of the business? Suitability. Is it suitable? Is it in consonance with the company vision and mission statement? Because anything that you are doing, any strategy, that strategy must not conflict with the vision and mission statement of the company, the dream of the founders, the destination of the company. It must fit, it must be in line with the scope of operation of the company. And it must agree with the company policy, procedures.
Hello.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are you lost? Look. I'm with you, you can talk.
Hello?
It's always good to hear from you.
Okay.
You have observation or...
Okay. I couldn't hear you before, so I can hear you now, sir.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that the assessments of business strategy that we are talking about, this particular subtopic, I love it because it is good for us. And that's one reason why I say this exam, this course that we are doing is not just for exam, you know. Some people will go into business, they don't look at the business critically. The strategy that they want to use, maybe they want to imitate the strategy of their competitors or what have you, or people give them that business idea or strategy. They don't look at it critically, how they can manage this strategy and sustain it. To achieve sustainable strategy that will give us expected results, it is required we assess the business strategy. And for you to assess the business strategy, we have to assess it by looking at the suitability of the strategy. That's the first thing that I mentioned. Suitability, does it meet the expectations and requirements of the company or the individual businessman that owns the business? Suitability, will the strategy be suitable to the present economic condition of Nigeria? Do you get it? Suitability, we have to look at it as, will the strategy give us a long-time benefit and not just short-time gains? So any strategy that you are using must be suitable to the company long-time goals. The strategy must be suitable for the company to achieve results. At the same time, we have to look at its acceptability. This strategy, if you present it to the board of directors, the investors, the shareholders, and all the stakeholders, particularly the internal stakeholders, non-stakeholders, are they going to accept this strategy? Will this strategy fly? Because if that strategy will not be productive, if the strategy will not yield us any results, particularly it will not bring us significant long-time benefits, then short strategy should be stepped down, should not be accepted. or ratify. Any strategy that will cause internal rancor, that will cause wastages of resources, should not be embarked upon or implemented. At the same time, we have to assess the strategy by looking at the feasibility of the strategy. The feasibility in that, what is the financial gains if we are to use this strategy? What is the level of risks attached to it? We have to consider that too. Feasibility in terms of, will the strategy fit into the limited resources and competency of our company? And above all, that your financial gains have to look at anytime we are talking of feasibility of strategy. Any strategy that will not give you any financial returns, such strategy should not be implemented. So that is what the ICANN syllabus stress, that if we are looking at the assessment of strategy, we have to look at is the strategy suitable? Is it acceptable? Is it feasible? Will the strategy give you opportunity for new product development? Will the strategy fitting with the company vision and mission statement? Okay, since we have looked at that, then we go to ethical influences and corporate social responsibility. Ethical influences and corporate social responsibility. This is another interesting topic that will not take us much time. Ethical influences. Can I continue, please? Hello? Okay, ethical influences and corporate social responsibility, CSR. The business, I can continue. Okay, thank you. The business ethics. What do we call business ethics? Business ethics means ability of the company to exhibit moral obligations, ability of the company to conduct their business in a way that will not disrupt the social norms, values. Business ethics refer to the ethical behavior of the company to perform their business in line with the government regulations and other agency laws. So the business ethics now is telling you that companies must have ethical standards that will guide the conduct of all their staffs within and outside the company. Because it is this ethics that will guide your normal social behavior. It is the ethics that have a lot of role to play when it comes to goodwill of the company. But anytime companies engage in what we call ultra-vires businesses, or the company involved in unethical business acts, this one can attract litigations. It can attract sanctions from the government. It will affect the goodwill of the company and cause what we call reputational risks. It can bring about premature extinction of the company from the business or industry. So, conducting business and acting within the provision of the law and ensuring that all your staff and investors abide with laid down ethical standards is very crucial to achieving results in the organization. Therefore, ethical issues and regulations have to do with acting within the provision of the law. In fact, by the time we start corporate governance, there's some aspect of this corporate governance that I'm going to explain to you that has to do with this. We are still going to talk about Adam Green and Owen ethical stance. So we are still going to talk about the Code of Corporate Governance. In the Code of Corporate Governance, we have rule-based approach, we have principle-based approach, we have comply and explain, and many more. All these things you must act within the law. If CBN has made provisions or pronounced any policy, then it is expected of you to adhere rigidly and strictly to that provision. You must ensure the business that you are doing creates ethical value and does not conflict with the constitutional provisions. If you are operating financial institutions, microfinance bank, POS business or what have you, or the normal deposit money banks, you must ensure you comply with BOFIA Act, Bank and Other Financial Institution Act. There must be fair competitions, fair dealings with your suppliers, customers, investors. You must not take any undue advantage on them. So you have to ensure you abide with employment laws, respect human rights policy. So all these things are what we call ethics. And within the company must ensure that all their staff abide with this. They have what we call ethical culture. There must not be any form of social discrimination. Any staff that violates all this ethical policy or stance must be duly punished. And that's the reason why we have what we call carrot and stick approach. So lack of compliance with all these ethical stance must attract punishment, capital punishment indeed, to avoid the adverse negative effect of unethical acts within and outside the company. So for us to achieve a sound ethical stance and regulations, there are 4 principles that are given by Johnson, Whittington, and Scholes, JW and S. There are 4 principles, 4 ethical principles that are given by Johnson, Whittington, and Scholes. The 4 ethical principles that we have are: 1, the interests of the shareholders should be paramount. If I when the scholar first of all mentioned it, he said the short-term interests of the shareholders should be paramount. Those are the things that bring about criticism. Why short-term? It should be long-term interests of the shareholders, because they are the risk bearer, they are the owner of the business, they finance and manage the business, they own the resources. They are the employers of the employees. So they're not saying that their interests should be forced and it should be maximized. So profit making, maximization of the profits, accumulation of the wealth of the shareholders, we have to ensure we do this. It's part of the ethics. It is very important. 2, let me be a little bit faster because I have another class very soon, is that the interest of the shareholders, it is important. And at the same time, we must make provision for improving the welfare of the employees, the host community, the public, and ensure contribution to environmental sustainability. That is the second position of ethical stance. The third one, that third one is checkmating the first statement that we have, that all priority must be given to the interests of the shareholder. So this third one is now saying that it is not only the interest of the shareholders that the board of directors should focus on, but they must accommodate the interests of the stakeholders too. We can't go into that today because, in fact, we have even mentioned it when we are discussing on the Mendeley stakeholders mapping analysis. That's the diagram that we have. Power and interest, position and interest. We discussed about the shareholder story and stakeholder story. And exactly the argument here, that we must not just be saying that every effort and focus and benefit and reward that comes in should go for the shareholder. This is the interest of the stakeholders too has to be considered. Because the stakeholders too, they are valuable assets. They are the lubricants that will the economic growth of the company. Without the stakeholders, without the employees, the directors and what have you, actually nothing can be achieved. So the position 3 principle is saying that both the shareholders and stakeholders' interests have to be catered for. While the position 4 emphasize and stress that companies have major roles to play to the society because they must be the shaper of the society. The host community that give you opportunity to do your business and achieve landmark success, we must give back to them, maybe in form of employment creation, provision of basic infrastructural facilities, financial support, security support, avoidance of environmental pollution, and many other things. Women empowerment, youth empowerment, give back to the society. That is what the 4th principle is saying. So next to that is, what are the consequences of unethical behavior? We have made mention of that. In the course of my introduction about ethical behavior or ethics, I've told you some of the consequences of ethical behavior is that it can bring about premature extinction from business. It can cause reputational damage. It can affect staff turnover. It will discourage a lot of investors from coming to the company. It can attract litigation and sanctions from the government. And above all, I told you that it will cause reputational risks. And that one is key. And once a company has a reputational risk, it affects their brand, it affects customers' patronage, so many things will be affected. And it will affect their return on investment and brand equity or popularity. Okay. So lastly, for today, we have just 2 captions left that we can do in the next 10 minutes. That is CSR. And I have to inform you that the CSR that we have here, like I mentioned, under ethics and corporate social responsibility, under governance, there are still some aspects of the CSR that I'm going to mention and discuss with you. Even in that aspect too, I can be able to critique the argument, the school of thought that we have about CSR. We have some school of thought that says CSR is essential. Some are saying CSR is not necessary. The father of that school is Michigan, so we are going to discuss on that. What do we call CSR? CSR means a voluntary obligation of the company to impart and contribute immensely to the welfare of the public. I use the word public there to save us time. And instead of mentioning this, that, and that. So in exam conditions or anywhere you are talking, maybe layman discussions or arguments, whatever, once you use public, it has saved you so many stress. Because that public there that we have mentioned, public means the employees, public means the vendors, public means our competitors, public means the government, public means the host community or society, public means investors, public means the shareholders. So a lot of people are involved. So anytime we are talking of CSR, for it to be CSR, it must be done voluntarily without altering the society or exploiting the customers. So CSR means voluntary obligation, voluntary responsibility that a company do engage in to better the life of the society, to contribute to the well-being of the staff, well-being of the shareholders, the society, investors, and many more. That is what we call CSR. And why are we doing CSR? We are doing CSR because it is essential for all companies to practically associate themselves to good things in the country that can bring about socio-economic viability and improve the standard of living of the citizen. CSR is very essential for companies to increase their goodwill. CSR, it is essential as a form of reward to the host community, to thank them for their support, for thank them for assisting them to do their business, to nurture their business and grow. CSR is being conducted for us to indirectly improve our business growth, increase customers' patronage. And we are equally doing CSR for us to have what we call a reciprocal relationship with the government, because all companies that do genuine CSRs too, government always give them a lot of support. At times they enjoy a rebate in tax. So it brings about mutually benefiting relationship with the government, with investors, with the society, and many more. And anytime we are doing CSR, we must ensure that this CSR is done in line with laid down regulations. We must do it without violating the human rights. We must do it without engaging in unethical behavior. And most importantly, that is one aspect of the research that I'm doing now. We must do CSR without engaging in what we call greenwashing. That is the most that is peculiar in Africa. Even in advanced countries, they do it, but with some level of limitations. Some companies are not socially responsible. Some companies are not abiding with the environmental protections, environmental sustainability, green manufacturing, and the lie that they are doing is. So all these fallacious claims should be avoided. Because anytime you do brainwash, that means you are doing misinformation or disinformation about your CSR claims. So we have to ensure that our CSR is conducted in a way that will better the life of the society and complement the efforts of the government. So what are the critical aspects of the CSR? This critical aspect of the CSR can be stated in exam condition as dimensions of CSR. When I title you, I give you that title, critical aspect of CSR. And I told you that critical aspect of CSR is the same thing as the dimensions of CSR. The likely areas that the CSR of the company should cover. So the coverage of the CSR of the company are one, ethical responsibility. Ethical responsibility. That means your CSR should be conducted in an ethical way. It must not violate any regulatory law, policy, or constitutional provision. Labor responsibility. So the companies have to ensure that their CSR is not only directed to outsider, but that's the belief of people. Anytime you are talking of CSR, they will be telling you the responsibility of the company to the society, to the host community. No. CSR should be done. It's something that involves internal and external responsibility. The company has to be responsible to the shareholders. I'm quite sure you are with me. And what is our responsibility to the shareholders? Our responsibility to the shareholders is to make and maximize profit. Our responsibility to the shareholders is to be competitive. The responsibility of the board of directors to the shareholders is for them to be innovative, develop new products, act competitively. Our responsibility is to achieve what we call going concern, increasing return on investment, corporate reputation. All these things are the things that make the shareholders happy. Under the labor responsibility, what is our responsibility to our employees? That should be pay and job security. Unbiased performance appraisal is there. Staff training and manpower development, motivation, recognition of the trade union. So these are the things that make your staff to be happy and to increase their productivity and the efficiency level. Another thing that we have is legal responsibility. We have mentioned this times to that number. We have stressed it that your CSR has to be in line with the legal provision. And you must ensure that the underage is not being employed. You have to ensure that anytime you are doing your CSR, don't make fallacious claims. What you don't do, don't tell us that you have done it. We have so many of them like that. When time permits or when we are close to solving of exam questions, I will be able to tell you some of these fallacious claims that I call brainwashing that companies engage in when it's come to CSR. We have that kind of experience in the East some years back during Obasanjo regime that Shell went to acquire about 12 acres of land when the Ogoni people are saying that they've destroyed their what is it called? Their sea. They're unable to do farm. All their well, they are unable to get good water. And all these companies are not giving back to them. They only come here to drain their crude oil, make money from it. They now fence out acres of land, rand. They put, this school was built by Shell, Nigerian PLC. When you go inside that fallow land, there is no school there. That is what we call unethical behavior, greenwashing. And it's punishable under law. So we have philanthropic CSR. In a philanthropic CSR, we have to ensure that we are generous to the society, create jobs, support them in the area of security. If they're having an electricity problem, the company can buy transformer for them. Do you get it? Financial support, youth empowerment. We can support the small and medium-scale enterprises that are experiencing high infant mortality. Women empowerment is there. So many things can be done. Companies can build hospitals and manage it, or build it and give it to government for continuous management. So all these things are what we call philanthropic CSR. At the same time, in the area of economic responsibility, we have to ensure that we are responsible to our customers. Anytime we are making our policy should focus on what we call customer centricity. Focus on the customers. In terms of our price has to be friendly. We must ensure we produce a quality product that is organic and fit for consumption. The company have to pay their tax regularly. And environmental responsibility, we have to avoid anything that can cause environmental pollution or damage the ozone layer. we must produce a product that will guarantee the safety of the customers. And we have to ensure that our product too should be easier to recycle. These are part of the criticism that Coca-Cola is facing, Coke is facing globally now. But they claim that all their PET bottles are 100% recycled. This is a lie. You all see it in Nigeria, all the drainage has been blocked by empty PET bottle of Coca-Cola. That is a fallacious claim. So what are the steps required in achieving CSR? Steps required in achieving CSR. One, I've highlighted all the steps for you. Let me just spell it out. We have one. We have to identify the ethical value of the company and publish it. So two, the company has to look inward, critical review of all their current positions when it comes to CSR. What have you done in the past? What are the things that we intend to do now and in future? The ones that we have done in the past, in what way has we benefited the company in terms of reputation, sales, attraction of investors, benefit from government, and many more. We have to look at that. So we have to look at three, realistic targets. What do we intend to do? What's our targets here now? Are we to direct our CSR now to education? Is it for environmental protection? Or we should donate money to the police or buy them patrol vehicle? We must have a target. Not just to say that, okay, we want to do CSR. But there should be accountability and evaluation of what is CSR. So another one is that the company CSR achievement, what we have achieved in the past, on all the CSR that we have implemented, we should pronounce it to all the investors, stakeholders. Let's have CSR reporting. And this reporting has to be consistent. It must be continuous without bias. So all the CSR activities of the company have to be effectively monitored. Okay, lastly, we look at the meaning of strategic selection. This strategic selection is beyond this. So we are just coming up gradually. Hope you hear me. We are just coming up. Because in the strategic selection, later on, we are going to have a topic that we call element of strategic management. So we have strategic position, strategic choice, and many more. We are going to look at this. So this strategic selection is just telling you that any strategy that the company wants to adopt or implement, we should be able to strategically take the best strategy out of the numerous strategies or options available. That the strategy that we are selecting should be suitable, should be aligned with the company vision and mission statement. The strategy that I want to select should be feasible. Not quite long, some couple of minutes I told you, the feasibility in terms of strategic selection means that that strategy must be profitable. It must give us financial gains with limited risks. And the strategy before implementation must be ratified by all the stakeholders in the organization. So in a formal evaluation, all strategies have to be formally evaluated after some couple of months or a year or quarterly, Q1, Q2, Q3. We have to do evaluation of the strategy before we implement. And after implementation too, there is need for us to evaluate this strategy. The essence of evaluation before implementation is for us to be able to be double sure of the likely gains of this strategy. For us to be double sure, if we have the resources to nurture the implementation of the strategy, we have to be double sure if there is what we call internal development and synergy, harmony. There must not be any rancor or diverse opinion or lack of support from the government, lack of support from the stakeholders and the board of directors. Was anything that we call strategy concern the top management, and their total commitment, involvement, and support is key for achieving a strategic objective. And after we have implemented, we do our formal evaluation of the strategy too. We are evaluating to see the actual performance, the gray areas of deviation, so that we can be able to put in place a corrective measure. Then we have enforced choice. Enforced choice. What do we call enforced choice? We can call it enforced choice or enforced strategy. Enforced choice or enforced strategy. Then we might be fortunate, maybe if the mark is not more than 3 marks, they can ask you to write an understanding of this, but which I doubt. But you can have this kind of thing in a case scenario. We can have a short case in exam that is forthcoming very soon, or it might be a long case. But you now see in that case, they will tell you the decision of the company to implement certain strategy. And it will be stated by the examiner that this strategy was implemented out of no choice. Like for instance now, if government says there's an increase in the value tax, maybe additional 0.7 increase in value tax or increase in the interest rates. This one will affect so many things. Our operational business activities, cost of doing business will increase. Our access to finance will increase. If company now take certain decision in relation to that government policy, that's what we call enforced choice. We don't have any option rather than to do it. Take for instance, the present economic situation now that is binding seriously. The recent protests by the Nigeria, people are just saying that Nigerian youth. No, just the larger number of people that came out, they are youth that fall within certain age brackets. Because a lot of people are envisaging fear. So what we need in that protest is that the protest has been yielding a lot of positive results. Government don't have choice now than to remove the import duty on some of the basic food items now. It's an enforced choice on the government. They're not saying that goods like wheat, rice, brown rice, tomato, and what have you, all these imported goods, for the next 5 months, customs should not take any tax or excise duty on them. And that has to start reducing the price of the basic essential food items that we need. So that is enforced. We don't have any choice that will take that decision. So learning is continuous. So what is the meaning of learning and experience? Experience has to do with development of skill, competency, putting into practice. So it's not something that you can use money to buy. It's not something you watch on TV. So experience is gained over time through practice, and it has to be consistent. But learning refers to acquisition of new skills, capability, area of competency. Learning can be achieved through training, maybe on-the-job training, off-the-job training, vestibular training, apprenticeship training, so many means of training. So that might be the end of our lecture for today. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks for the commitment you have with Equity. I wish each and every one of you success, and please don't allow all these no's to accumulate. You know, some are doing 3 courses, 4 courses, 5 courses. PSAV is there, public sector accounting is there, performance management is there. There's a lot of courses. Financial reporting is there, AA is there, advanced tax, CSMA. We still have a lot of topics to take on this course. A lot of topics. So please, I want the reading to start now. Any available time that you have. I know it's not easy. Monday to Friday, we are at work. Saturday, Sunday, we have to receive lecture. We are having lecture till 7. But then it's just a matter of commitment. It's an enforced choice. You don't have any choice than to read. You know how much you are paying for all this program. The energy dissipated, a lot of sacrifice. So if you read now, you are reading for knowledge. You can be able to recall all these things, retain them. So I wish you best of luck your forthcoming exam and all other endeavors. So permit me to end this class now while I attend to another physical class that I have. So enjoy the rest of your day.